Claire Tiltman was born in 1976, and at the time of this case, in 1993, she had just celebrated her 16th birthday only days earlier. Claire was the only child to her parents Cliff and Linda Tiltman, growing up with her family in the Horns Cross area of Stone in Dartford. She attended Dartford Grammar School for Girls, where friends affectionately named her Tilts. Claire was in year 11 at school and had just completed her GCSE mock examinations. She and her friends regularly discussed their plans for the future, education, their goals, career ideas and college options. Outside of class, Claire took part in the Duke of Edinburgh Awards scheme. She was completing her Bronze Award through activities at their local Dartford fire station. Her friends and family recalled that Claire dreamed of becoming a firefighter as an adult. She'd enjoyed going to the local fire station, seeing how things were run, what happened there, and hearing the stories from the staff. Claire was widely remembered as warm, outgoing, and a popular girl. She was described as having an engaging and lively personality and was extremely popular at school within a wide circle of friends. Her school friends recalled her as a beautiful and loyal classmate with a wicked sense of humour, someone who drew people to her and was funny and ambitious. In their remarks, close friends emphasised that Claire's kindness and humour made her especially loved.
On the day of her murder, Claire had gone to sit her last mock exam.
She got on and came straight up to me and, did the usual hellos. She wanted a bit of advice, so she planned to come down after school.
On the 18th of January 1993, 16-year-old Claire had arranged to go and see a friend after dinner. She had left their home at Woodward Terrace in Stone around 6 p.m. to walk to the friend's house. Claire would normally get a lift to her friend's house, but unfortunately her father's car had been stolen just before Christmas, so she had no option but to walk. But she never made it there. Whilst walking along, she was attacked roughly 30 minutes later in a dark alleyway not far from her friend's home. Claire suffered in total 9 stab wounds, collapsing onto the pavement below her, and by the time anyone found Claire, called for help, and they arrived, Claire had bled out. Police were called and word soon got around that a young teen's life had been senselessly taken. Her parents were left with a terrible guilt that if they had not let her out that night, then she may still be alive. It ate them up. They clung to each other for support, not knowing how to move forward with life. When her friends were told at school, they were shocked. They could not believe it. They burst into tears, completely inconsolable. The pathologist recorded that Claire was attacked from behind as she walked along wearing a zipped-up jacket, and that her demise was due to blood loss from the wounds. The killing seemed to be motiveless and savage, shocking the local community. As far as police could find, Claire had no boyfriend, no potential boyfriend, no enemies, and she got on with everyone. Kent Police launched a major inquiry, one that they named Operation Artist. In rows of multiple officers, they searched the area, issued public appeals, including a £1,000 reward at the time, and took over 1,500 statements. But no suspect was charged at the time, and despite exhaustive inquiries in 1993, the Claire Tiltman case seemed to just go cold. With no new information, no new leads or suspects, they had nowhere to take this case. Every few years, police appealed nationally, where Claire's picture would appear on the front pages of the newspapers and magazines, and despite police receiving thousands of tips, evidence was limited, and for years her family, Mother Linda and Father Cliff, kept the case in the public eye. In 2010, the Kent Police Cold Case Unit received Home Office funding to re-examine the Claire Tiltman evidence with modern forensic techniques. In April 2012, on the 19th anniversary of this crime, Claire's father Cliff made a public appeal for information. High school friends of Claire formed the Justice for Clare campaign, organising annual memorial events, for example, a candlelight walk in January 2013, while retracing Claire's last steps. These efforts kept pressure on the police, but the case still remained officially unsolved until a breakthrough in 2013. Police were made aware of a prison confession. This occurred between 2001 and 2003, when a man named Ash Smith, who had changed his name from Colin Smith, had shared a cell in Wakefield Prison with a convicted offender named Stephen Dubliss. Stephen had testified that while locked up with Ash Smith, Ash had told him that he once saw a girl on a zebra crossing and he just snapped and attacked her. Police looked into this information, and the Claire Tiltman case was the only one unsolved case that had been close to a pedestrian crossing, making this detail uniquely identifying. Kent detectives searched up Ash Smith's information, his previous arrests, and if he had actually been locked up with this informant at the same time in the same prison. He had. So Ash Smith's family home was searched and he was arrested. Police found a copy of a local newspaper marking the first anniversary of Claire's death in his possession, a strange trophy that he had kept. Ash Smith, formerly known as Colin Smith, was born in 1968 and had lived in nearby Swanscombe with his parents, who had both been Labour councillors in the area. Ash Smith knew the area well and had been acquainted with Claire's family through the local Royal British Legion Club, but they were not close. Prosecutors described Ash Smith as a knife-obsessed loner with a history of violent fantasies. He had kept details of assault plans, diaries rating his attacks, and one entry admitted, "I would kill a schoolgirl. It sounds impressive." Before 1993, Ash Smith carried out 2 other violent crimes in the area. On the 21st of December 1988, in Swanscombe, he took a 27-year-old woman against her will at gunpoint, dragged her to a quarry and attempted to RAPE her. He then tried to take her life by placing his hands around her neck and then stabbing her in the back 5 times. Now, the victim survived. In October 1995, Ash Smith then attacked a 21-year-old healthcare assistant, Charlotte Barnard, less than 400 metres from where Claire had lost her life. He dragged Charlotte into an industrial yard and then stabbed her 14 times, leaving her on the ground. She managed to survive. The 1988 victim and Charlotte Barnard both testified that Ash Smith had the same appearance, fair hair, around 6 foot tall, wearing the same beige jacket he later wore to Claire's funeral. His mother, Diane, was a former Labour Party councillor and later mayor. She told police that he had been driving her home at the time of the attack on Claire. In 1997, she said neither she, her husband or son had anything to do with Claire's killing. His father, Aubrey, who died in May 2016, had also served as a Labour Party councillor but was jailed for 12 months in 1997 for perverting the course of justice, as he had destroyed a knife just before the family home was due to be searched by police. He admitted he boiled, dismantled and threw away a knife to destroy evidence. I wonder how he knew it was evidence. Colin, or this Ash Smith, was denied special purpose license to attend his father's funeral after news that he could be potentially allowed a temporary release to do so met with public outcry on social media. Instead, he was allowed to send a floral tribute. Investigators also rechecked Ash Smith's timeline on the 19th of January 1993. He had telephoned police, apparently, claiming to be passing the British Legion Club at 6:30 p.m. when Claire was already dead on the floor, an alibi that quickly unravelled With no DNA or forensic trace evidence linking Ash Smith, the case rested on the guy in prison's testimony, plus Ash Smith's own admissions from prior crimes, the diaries and confessions to the 1988 to 1995 attacks, and the known facts of the case. Crucially, changes in the law allowed this bad character evidence to be used. The Criminal Justice Act 2003 permitted jurors to hear a defendant's past convictions and admissions, which had previously been inadmissible in court. Armed with the man from prison, the cellmate Dubois testimony and the supporting evidence to the fact that they were in prison together at the same time, police submitted their findings to the Crown Prosecution Service, the CPS, which subsequently announced on the 12th of February 2014 that Ash Smith should be charged with Clare's murder. Ash Smith's trial took place at the Inner London Crown Court in Southwark in late 2014. Prosecutor Brian Altman QC portrayed Ash Smith as a ruthless, predatory armed killer who took pleasure in violence and noted his collection of knives and his previous convictions. The Crown's case highlighted the prison confession, Ash Smith's matching jacket that he wore to Clare's funeral, car details, the false alibi call to police that night, and the pattern of his previous attacks. Ash Smith himself testified, describing himself as an animal with those previous victims, but insisted he had not met Clare. He had changed. Yeah, right. His barrister sought to cast doubt by pointing to serial killer Robert Napper, who murdered multiple women in London between 92 and 93, stating that it was probably him. The defence also tried to discredit the cellmate Dubois account and argued that there was no direct physical evidence against Ash Smith. The judge, Mr. Justice Sweeney, allowed the bad character evidence, marking one of the earliest high-profile applications of the 2003 Act's provisions in London. Jurors heard at length about Ash Smith's 1988 and 1995 convictions and the assault plans he had written himself. After 5 weeks of evidence, the jury just took 2 hours before they found him guilty of killing Claire Tiltman. The next day, Mr. Justice Sweeney sentenced him to life in prison with a minimum term of 21 years. Under the old sentencing guidelines, 21 years was noted as roughly equivalent to what he would have served if Clare's case had been prosecuted in 1993. Justice Sweeney remarked that the murder was premeditated and that Clare had been chosen as a vulnerable victim. Ash Smith, already 46 at the time of his sentencing, reacted impassively at the life sentence as it was imposed. A number of Clare's school friends and family were in the gallery to hear the sentencing. Following his conviction, detectives branded Ash Smith as pure evil and said he would never be freed. The CPS said this was one of the most complex cases that they have dealt with in recent years. In 2015, Ash Smith launched an appeal against his conviction on the grounds that Mr. Justice Sweeney had wrongly allowed gravely prejudicial material to go before the jury. However, it was rejected by Lord Justice Davies and 2 other Lords of the Justice Appeal. He is currently imprisoned at HMP Durham, and the long wait for justice drew intense public attention. In the immediate aftermath, local residents laid hundreds of floral tributes at the scene. The story appeared on all the national front newspapers, and over the years the case remained in the public eye through vigils and campaigns, mainly pushed by her mother and father. Clare's school friends Joanne Roberts, Vicky Atkins and Lisa Gibbon refused to let her memory fade. They organised annual memorials and candlelight walks. But her mother died of cancer in March 2008 and Cliff, her father, in September 2012. Both had insisted that their ashes not to be buried with Clare's until the killer was caught. They had no other children. Roger Tiltman, the brother of Clifford, said that his brother and sister-in-law racked with guilt at the king, and the stress of it drove them both to early graves. In a victim impact statement, her uncle said the fact they allowed her out that night caused them a massive amount of pain when looking back and wondering if they'd have just said no, would things be different? Would she still be here? But as we know, we can't think like that. We don't want to imagine that there are people out there that will do this to our children, and at some point they must be allowed a little bit of freedom and independence. It's difficult to know what to say no to and what to say yes to, is because we are all different. I didn't let my daughter out until she was 16 years of age. Having said that, some people may think that that is quite old. And I can imagine that the pain they felt as they look back on this would have haunted them forever. She was their only child. They loved her dearly. Thank you for listening, guys. Take care, and I'll be back with you again soon. Bye for now.